You have heard that death is a finish line, that nothing happens afterward except reward or punishment and endless rest. That outline is incomplete. Evidence collected for more than a century from verified cases of clinical death, consistent reports of children who recall previous lives, and laboratory work on non-local consciousness points to a different sequence. What follows is a straightforward description of that sequence. It removes ornamental language and keeps to the operational details so you can judge the model on its coherence. The physical body stops. Electrical activity in the brain falls below clinical measurement. Awareness does not shut down. It disengages from sensory input and registers the new state. The first environment encountered is an energy domain that overlaps the familiar world but runs at a higher frequency. Standard vocabulary calls it the astral plane. No clouds, no flames, no thrones, just a field where thought, emotion, and memory appear as structured patterns rather than matter. Transition is automatic. Nothing outside decides where a person lands. Placement follows resonance. The emotional tone present at the moment of death acts like a radio dial. Calm produces immediate clarity. Panic produces temporary fog. The fog lifts when the individual recognizes the nature of the new setting and stabilizes focus. The initial task is review of the life just completed. Memory replays without gaps. The individual experiences critical interactions from both sides. Personal viewpoint and the viewpoint of every person affected. Physiological parameters are absent, so emotions transmit directly. No external entity judges. Evaluation arises from internal recognition of cause and effect. When understanding is complete, guilt dissipates on its own because confusion is resolved. Pride also dissolves because it no longer serves a function. What remains is a precise record and the impulse to correct distortions discovered in the replay. If strong attachments persist, unfinished obligations, addiction patterns, fear about loved ones, awareness can remain near the physical environment. These earthbound cases are not forced to linger. They do so because their attention still clings to earlier concerns. Contact with the living usually takes the form of thought impressions, dream intrusions, or emotional waves. The attachment breaks when the individual finally accepts that the physical phase ended and that further progress requires release. When attachment is light, the individual moves deeper into the non-physical field and reconnects with other members of the same development group. These groups last for many incarnations. Members review overlapping lessons, compare progress, and plan coordinated future work. Planning is deliberate but flexible. A probable birthplace, family system, and key intersections are selected, then left open to adjustment by free choices once back in dense matter. Re-entry to physical life is always voluntary. The curriculum on Earth offers unique conditions: rapid feedback, strong emotional contrast, dense resistance that sharpens intent. If an individual's record shows unresolved themes, or if altruistic goals require direct engagement with Earth conditions, another incarnation is chosen. If Earth classes are complete, the individual may skip the option and move to a different context where more advanced service is possible. The balancing mechanism, often labeled karma, is not retribution. It is simply energetic carryover. Each action generates a charge. The charge persists until comprehension neutralizes it. If a person caused physical harm, that information appears in the review. Understanding the full consequence usually triggers a plan to counterbalance. Counterbalance can occur by helping the harmed person in a future life, by guiding others to avoid similar mistakes, or by undergoing conditions that reveal the pain from the inside. The process is self-regulated. No tribunal enforces it. Beyond the astral field are higher domains identified by distinct frequency bands. Individuals operate there when Earth-level lessons are stable. Activity focuses on group projects, assisting planetary ecosystems, supporting collective psychological shifts, and maintaining energy equilibria across multiple inhabited worlds. Work is coordinated by councils that form naturally through shared competence, not through imposed hierarchy. Communication in these bands is direct mental exchange. Time is not sequential. It functions as a spectrum that can be entered at multiple coordinates. Intention structures the environment. Travel is relocation of focus. Personal identity remains, but egoic fragments tied to physical survival drop away. Information exchange with Earth continues through channels that most people experience as intuition, sudden insight, or creative surge. Why this model is not mainstream has practical reasons. Social systems that depend on fear lose leverage when individuals know that life extends beyond physical duration and that moral accountability is intrinsic, not externally assigned. Economic engines that monetize distraction also suffer when people place growth above consumption. Therefore, public education rarely covers credible after-death research, and popular media frames the subject as superstition or horror. The model has observable support. Large sample studies of cardiac arrest patients document structured awareness during periods of zero cortical output. Children with specific verifiable memories of past lives number in the thousands across multiple cultures. Controlled remote viewing trials confirm perceptual capacity without sensory channels. Though none of these domains alone proves the after-death map, together they supply converging evidence that consciousness operates independently of the neural substrate. Practical consequences for daily living are clear. Decisions made now will appear in the life review with complete emotional data. Long-term well-being here and elsewhere depends on acting from clarity rather than impulse. Emotional state at death influences the entry conditions of the next phase. Regular mental housekeeping, resolving resentment, expressing gratitude, releasing anxiety, prepares smoother transition. Earthbound interference can be reduced by straightforward communication. Inform any lingering presence of its status, affirm the availability of guidance, and suggest continuation. This method has shown success in clinical settings. Purpose identified during physical life will still matter in the after-death state. Developing skill, contribution, and compassion while embodied shortens orientation time later. Service remains an option at every level. Individuals who center their motivation on advancing collective welfare find expanded capacity after transition. Personal agenda gives way to directed cooperation without loss of individuality. The model places responsibility for moral navigation on the individual, both before and after death. External authority can advise but cannot override personal resonance. Dissonant choices create experiential consequences until alignment is achieved. The process is self-correcting and ceaseless. The end of cardiac activity initiates relocation of awareness, not extinction. Reflection replaces judgment. Understanding updates behavior. Attachment determines speed of movement. Release accelerates progress. Return to physical life is chosen, not mandated, and is undertaken to complete objectives or assist others. Higher domains exist where advanced cooperative work proceeds. Knowledge of these facts has been suppressed because it weakens fear-based control structures. The logical response is to live with deliberate integrity, reduce harm, foster growth, and act in ways you will endorse when every effect is visible. Begin with daily calibration. At the end of each evening, replay one interaction that triggered anger or anxiety. Observe it as if reviewing footage. Note tone, motive, and consequence on both sides. The exercise trains the same perspective that will engage automatically after death. The nervous system adapts within weeks, reducing reactive spikes and shortening recovery time during conflict. That shift not only improves present relationships, it also lightens the load you will face in the non-physical review. Adopt a second habit, intentional closure. Whenever a project, job, or relationship ends, acknowledge completion out loud, alone if necessary. State gratitude for lessons, admit any harm caused, and affirm release. Doing so discharges residual attachment. If a sudden passing prevents direct conversation, write the message. Thought form delivery is instantaneous. The recipient on the other side receives content via emotional impression and can respond through dreams or quiet insight. Practitioners report relief on both ends within days. Cultivate attentional upgrades. Simple breath pacing, 5 seconds in, 5 out for 3 minutes, raises neural coherence and brings brainwave patterns closer to the threshold used for interplane communication. Repeat before sleep and upon waking. Enhanced coherence increases the chance of registering guidance transmitted during nighttime excursions when consciousness partially re-enters the astral field. Address substance use realistically. Excessive depressants blur memory encoding. Stimulants distort emotion regulation. Both effects complicate post-mortem orientation. Moderation or cessation simplifies future integration and reduces the likelihood of remaining earthbound to chase lingering cravings. Support children who report unusual memories. Listen without leading questions. Verify details neutrally when possible. Correct politely if the child absorbs errors from suggestive adults. Early validation helps the personality merge prior data without confusion, accelerating developmental stability. Suppression often forces the information underground, resurfacing later as unexplained anxiety or compulsion. Handle grief through informed dialogue. Speak to the departed as present, because in frequency terms they often stand centimeters away. Share updates, express feelings, and invite reciprocal support. Expect responses through subtle channels, synchronous messages, symbolic objects, or sudden inner certainty. Dismissing these signals prolongs loneliness. Acknowledging them converts grief into ongoing collaboration. Plan medical care with the model in mind. Documents that clarify treatment wishes reduce ambiguity if rapid decisions are required. Such clarity eases the transition process for both patient and relatives, limiting guilt residues during later reviews. Live accordance between stated values and daily behavior. Contradictions register as inertia that must be reconciled later. Approach end-of-life surroundings as staging areas, not as theaters of final defeat. Soft light, calm voices, and periodic statements of permission to depart assist the person in shifting attention smoothly. If you are the one departing, focus on continuous, steady breath and one memory of unconditional goodwill. That memory serves as a vibrational anchor guiding your resonance toward clear zones of the astral field. Expect spontaneous encounters. During transit, awareness may cross paths with other newly departed individuals moving through debrief. Communication is telepathic, concise, without social masking. Exchange encouragement and continue. Extended attachment to casualties of accidents or disasters slows everyone's progress. Recognize the education system of sleep. Every night, a measurable drop in cortical integration allows partial emergence in non-physical space. Most people forget the excursions because daily stimuli overwrite subtle memory traces. Set intention before sleep. Record useful information. On waking, remain still for 15 seconds. Capture any fragment in writing. Consistency eventually produces coherent sequences that match later events, demonstrating pre-arrival briefings from support networks. Use service to accelerate. Acts that raise collective well-being expand personal bandwidth, making guidance reception simpler. The mechanics are numbers-based. The more energy routed through compassion, the more stable the field generated around the brain-heart complex. The more stable the field, the cleaner the channel linking physical focus with non-physical strategy teams. Altruism is therefore not only moral but technically efficient. Interpret recurring obstacles as flagged curriculum. If financial scarcity, authority conflict, or chronic pain repeats across jobs, cities, or relationships, treat the pattern as a lesson persistently rescheduled because the required insight remains unachieved. Apply analytical questions. What belief powers this recurrence? What opposite action neutralizes it? Implementation breaks the loop and prevents carrying the same module into the next life. Anticipate objections from material reduction frameworks. Responses need no aggression. Simply reference the empirical anomalies they cannot yet model and state that absence of explanatory mechanism is not evidence of non-existence. Continue practice. Results supply personal validation beyond debate. Accept that memory of other lives is rare by design. Overlapping personality data can interfere with current objectives. Suppression is protective, not punitive. When earlier memory fragments emerge, treat them as supplemental context, not as a superior identity. Present duties retain priority. Prepare for long-range future scenarios. Technological medicine may extend lifespan far past current norms. This does not negate the transition process. It shifts timing and introduces additional lessons about adaptation and purpose in prolonged embodiment. Carry forward the same principles: ethical alignment, emotional regulation, continuous learning, group service. Monitor dream data for project assignments. Some individuals receive operational tasks, stabilizing regional emotional fields, mentoring incarnates during sleep, assisting disoriented newly departed. Signs include vivid instructional dreams, sudden competence in unfamiliar domains, or consistent inner prompts at specific hours. Accept or decline consciously. Free will applies. Use the body as sensor. When non-physical allies communicate, the message often registers first as distinct bodily cues: pressure on the crown, warmth in the chest, tingling along the arms. Pause, note the thought present at onset. If constructive, proceed. If manipulative or fear-driven, disengage. Resonance laws admit opportunistic low-clarity entities as well. Discernment rests on emotional quality of the signal. Calm, respectful, and solution-focused equals safe. Urgent, flattered, or shaming equals discard. Understand exit protocols. The moment of final breath is best approached with deliberate surrender. Acknowledge completion, express gratitude, forgive self and others, release attachment to outcome. This sequence streamlines orientation on the other side and reduces the need for extended earthbound decompression. Honor the living while recognizing the continuum. Physical presence still matters. Kindness still has measurable impact. Injustice still damages collective fields. Spiritual continuity is not an excuse for neglect. The review process confirms that omission harms as efficiently as direct aggression, and repair work will demand attention later. Operate from informed optimism. The framework portrays an ordered, purposeful cosmos where consciousness cannot be wasted and learning never halts. Disaster, when viewed across multiple lives, functions as accelerated training. Pleasure operates as reinforcement of constructive alignment. Both play roles, neither defines final value. Conclude each day with a brief audit. Did actions reduce fear and increase coherence? Did speech align with intent? Did today's investments benefit only the self or also the group? Record concise answers. Patterns surface within weeks. Course corrections follow naturally. The cumulative effect of these practices is a life lived as deliberate preparation rather than anxious speculation. When the transition arrives, and it will, awareness crosses with context, understanding, and momentum. Work continues, interruptions cease. The dead you once envisioned as passive observers are, by all available indicators, engineers of continuity. Join them now by practicing the same discipline while still embodied.